If you succeed, every mistake you ever made becomes legendary. If you don't, those same mistakes are just garbage. That is the most honest thing I have ever heard a billionaire say. And it came from a man who was rejected from 30 jobs, who failed his university entrance exam twice, who applied to Harvard 10 times and heard no every single time, who, when KFC came to a city looking for staff, was the one person out of 24 applicants they turned away. That man is Jack Ma, and this is not the polished keynote version of Jack Ma. This is Jack Ma sitting down, speaking without a script, saying the things about failure and success that most successful people are too proud to admit. By the end of this video, I want to give you 3 specific things he said that I think will change how you think about the mistakes you are carrying right now. The first one is going to make you slightly uncomfortable, because it is about something most people do without realizing it, and it is the single biggest reason they don't make it. Let's start there. Jack Ma was not a prodigy. He was not the smartest person in his school. He didn't come from a wealthy family. He didn't have connections. He wasn't especially talented at anything. The conventional world was rewarding at that time. He was just a young man from a normal family in Hangzhou who kept trying to get somewhere and kept being told no. 30 job applications, 30 rejections. He applied to study at university and failed the entrance exam. Applied again, failed again. He tried to get into the police force, rejected KFC, rejected the only one of 24 applicants they didn't hire. Here is what most people do with that sequence of rejections. They start to build a story. The story goes, the system is broken. The opportunity has already been taken. People like me don't get a fair chance. The world is against me. And Jack Ma had that story too. He talks about being a young graduate watching Bill Gates and Larry Ellison take all the best opportunities. Thinking, by the time I get there, everything good will already be gone. Thinking, I aim too high. I need to scale back. But then something shifted. Not in his circumstances, in his question. He stopped asking, why won't the world help me? And he started asking, have I actually earned the right to be helped? Don't get used to being accepted by other people. You should earn the right to be helped. That shift from expecting help to earning it is the first thing. Bridge, but there is something even more specific than that. A single question you can ask about any person, including yourself, that predicts almost exactly whether they're going to make it. And once you hear it, you'll never be able to unhear it. Watch how someone responds when something goes wrong, not what they say publicly. Not the polished version they give in the meeting or the interview. Watch the private version. The unguarded response in the moment to a failure or a setback. Jack Ma says he learned to read this. He says you can judge with remarkable accuracy whether someone has a chance at success by one single thing. Where do they put the failure? The person who says, it is not my fault. My teacher didn't like me. The market was bad. The other person let me down. Jack Ma says, this person has no chance. Not because the world was fair to them. Sometimes it wasn't. But because the moment you hand ownership of your failure to something outside yourself, you also hand over the ability to change it. You can't fix something you didn't cause. The person who says, even when it is hard, even when it is partially unfair, it was my fault. I didn't do it properly. I need to change how I approach this. That person, Jack Ma says, always has a chance because they kept the ownership. They kept the ability to act. Those who blame others when they fail, those people have no chance. Those who say it was my fault, I'll change. Those people always have opportunities. This is not about toxic positivity. It is not about pretending circumstances don't matter, or that systems aren't sometimes genuinely broken. It is about this. The only variable you can actually move is yourself. And the moment you blame someone else, you've given up control of the only variable that was ever in your hands. Jack Ma applied this to every failure. The exam he failed, the jobs that rejected him, the early business attempts that collapsed. Not why did this happen to me, but what did I do wrong and what do I change next time? That is the second thing, keeping ownership of your failures. But the third is where it gets counterintuitive, because it is about smart people and why being smart, genuinely, measurably smart, might actually be working against you. Jack Ma says something in this speech that I've thought about many times since I first heard it. He says, most smart people want to do successful things quickly and easily. And that is exactly the problem. Think about what that means. Smart people are good at finding the shortest path to a result. They're efficient. They optimize. They look at a situation and immediately identify the fastest route. And in many contexts, that is genuinely valuable. But in building something real, a company, a skill, a career that lasts, the shortest path is almost never the right path. The shortest path skips the years of iteration that build the understanding you can't get any other way. It skips the mistakes that teach you what no textbook or mentor can. It skips the decade of preparation that makes the success not just achievable, but sustainable. Jack Ma's rule, the one he used to build Alibaba from nothing to one of the largest companies in the world. We prepare for 10 years. We aim to win 10 years later. Not this year, 10 years. Smart people want to succeed quickly. Effective people prepare to win a decade from now. The gap between those two approaches is the gap between most people's results. He also says something quietly remarkable about working with people. He is not the smartest person in the room. He knows it. And he built his success by finding people smarter than him and working with them, rather than trying to be the smartest himself. Most people spend enormous energy trying to be the most capable person in every room they're in. Jack Ma spent his energy building rooms where he wasn't. And then there is the thing he said at the end of this speech that I think is the most human, most credible thing a person in his position could possibly admit. It is not about Alibaba's past. It is about right now. Here is what Jack Ma said, almost as an aside, near the end of the speech. He said Alibaba makes stupid decisions almost every day. Even now, even after 18 years, even after becoming one of the biggest companies on earth, nobody knows, he said. They think we're smart, but then the decision proves itself stupid. And then he said, we learn, we do again, we do again. We do again. I want you to feel what that actually means. This is not a man who found the system and cracked it. This is not a man who reached some level of competence where failure stopped being part of the daily experience. This is a man who built an empire and still makes stupid decisions almost every day, and simply refuses to let that stop him. The difference between Jack Ma and most people is not that he fails less. It is that he got comfortable with failing faster. He built a relationship with failure where it wasn't the signal to stop. It was just data information, feedback, the raw material for the next attempt. He said, when I fail, I say, of course I failed. When I succeed, I say, I never knew I could do this. Both responses keep him moving. Neither one makes the failure mean more than it needs to mean. Neither one makes the success mean he can stop learning. When I fail, I say, of course. When I succeed, I say, I never knew I could. Both keep you moving. Neither one lets a result define you. And that, more than the rejections, more than the billions, more than the decade of preparation, is the actual lesson. Success doesn't make the mistakes legendary. The refusal to stop makes the mistakes legendary. The legendary part was always the continuation. Before you go, I want to ask you one thing. What is the failure you are most glad happened? Not the one that feels good to talk about. The one that was genuinely awful at the time, and that you now recognize as the thing that sent you somewhere better than you were heading. Drop it in the comments. One sentence, no context needed. I read every single comment on videos like this, and the answers to that question are always the most worth reading. 3 things before you go. 1, drop your answer, the failure you are glad happened. Comments, 1 sentence. That is it. Because saying it out loud, even to strangers, changes your relationship to it. 2, if someone you know is sitting in the middle of a failure right now and is this close to giving up, send them this video. Not because it solves anything, but because sometimes hearing that the person who built Alibaba still makes stupid decisions every single day is exactly what someone needs to take. 1 more step. 3, because the next video goes deeper into the specific system Jack Ma used during Alibaba's early years. How he structured the 10-year plan, what he did when the company nearly died twice, and the one decision he almost didn't make that changed everything. It drops day. I'll see you there. And remember, the mistakes only look like garbage until the story ends. Keep going long enough, and they become legendary.